Good morning and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. Drake this beautiful Sunday here in Hawaii. And looking forward to connecting with you guys all over the world here. And hopefully my internet's holding up and it's not too lagged out. And want to appreciate you guys for tuning in live. Hopefully you like the new intro. Put that together. I don't know if you like it. Just give me some feedback. Let me know. Can change it. But figured it's a good way to kind of start things off. Little upbeat music, some flashy stuff, and yeah. So want to start today off. It's November 14th. Just read a little bit of my favorite book, the Ching. And yeah, you guys tuning in from Romania, all over the world. Great, awesome. I'm stoked to see you guys here. So today, the I Ching, this one is The Joyous Lake, and it's lake over lake. And it says, true joy is experienced by those who are strong within and gentle without. The hexagram Tui teaches us how to come into possession of joy. In our search for success and happiness, we are prone to think we must take aggressive actions to achieve them. The instructions of the I Ching is just the opposite. Only those who practice innocence, acceptance, and detachment inherit true joy in this world. We often see around us how forcible effort brings about what appears to be progress. Our egos tempt us to believe that these gains are lasting and valuable, but the truth is otherwise. Whatever is won by the desirous, ambitious, demanding manipulations of the ego will soon be lost. Others can always be temporarily browbeaten into doing things our way, but only hearts won by friendliness and sincere goodwill are true over time. The I Ching teaches us again and again that joy and success cannot be forced or stolen. They are achieved gradually but steadily by those who relate correctly to others and the higher power. To relate correctly means steadfastly practicing innocence, detachment, acceptance, and modesty, and gentleness. Life is full of shortcuts, but this is the only route that leads to true joy. The image of the hexagram is of two lakes joined together to keep from drying up. It is an encouragement to us to join with like-minded friends now in the discussion and contemplation of higher things. If we engage in an ongoing conversation about proper principles with our friends, our relationship to truth is steady, and our ego cannot seduce us into doubt, fear, and anxiety that lead us away from true joy. In your heart, be firm to holding to what is good and honest and correct. In your thoughts and actions, be gentle and accepting. Those who persevere on this path will meet with true joy and lasting success. Oh, yeah. Each morning I just hit a random chapter on this, and it just seems to guide me so right here of just, doing these office hours, making time out of my busy day. It takes, a lot longer than you just see me here live. There's a bunch of pre-work, post-work, getting things together. I hope you guys enjoy the mic. I spent some time figuring out how to configure the Open Broadcast Studio, OBS, to work with this mic a little better. I know last week I kind of had the mic mess up. I had to use my laptop mic. So, took the time to really, enjoy these conversations, jump into this, figure out how to make this work for myself, work for all of you, and support the community and join together like two lakes supporting each other. My knowledge coming from Korean natural farming, you guys out there putting this into practice and just this this relationship through the internet, as weird as this is, but it's in 2021, here we are, and what a wonderful technology to be able to connect this way. So want to again thank you for tuning in, and before too much rambling on all that, I want to get into some questions I had left over from last week. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I put out a special bonus episode this week because I didn't get to the Facebook questions last week, but I did. So I put in a little extra overtime. Did that last Friday night, and then after recording, then I have to convert the video. Then I have to make sure the sound is good in Premiere, and then I have to upload it and all this other stuff. So really going the extra effort, but want to make it worth it. So I want to just pick up on some questions from last week, I think. I'm not sure when these exactly came in. Maybe I could look at this. Yeah, this was from Halloween, that episode, and October 31st. So it says, my app talks about storing seawater. Could you elaborate on what needs to be done to store the seawater and ferment it? No, you know what? I got to this question last time. Sorry, I still had it outlined for me to get to. But I just, speaking of supporting each other, some sponsorship stuff, people talk about my app. I just want to show you here on my phone. If I hit this app right here, this is a KNF calculator. And I put this app out on the Google Play Store as well as iOS, and it's just KNF Solutions Calculator. But this enables me to calculate like any amount of gallons. Like say I'm doing a 275 gallon tote of water, and I want to get the KNF Solutions proper. I just hit calculate, and right here, I don't know if it's going to focus on that. Maybe I can get it at an angle there. And sorry, it's like too much glare right at the camera, but this app, if you can see it, it spits out all the numbers for my leaf solution, soil solution, flower, fruit, harvest, seed solution. All the numbers are just given to you right there in milliliters, so you can dilute the thing. And I made this app just as something that I do this all the time, right? I'm always calculating different volumes to get my natural farming solutions in there. So why not just make it easy where you just, enter in the gallons or the liters, put it in there, and just say I want to do 5 gallons. If I forget what that is, just hit calculate, and boom. Now it just spit out all the numbers for what I want to do to get all my solutions proper. So that again can be found on, iOS Store, Google Play Store, those things. Just if you don't know about the app, I made it as something that makes my life easier, and it definitely does. So wanted to share that with you guys. I think it's like $4, something like that. It's pretty cheap. Definitely saved me more than $4 in using it. So so there is the remaining question on this page that I pulled up, this screenshot that I had, was he's asking if he's collecting seawater from the Puget Sound where it's more brackish. Should he Tomat 33, should he change the dilution of his seawater? And I was explaining last week, the November 7th office hour, that brackish, the difference between brackish water when you're getting the living water on the top versus getting it down below for more minerals. And the one thing you got to realize is that the sea varies in salinity from place to place. Here in Hawaii, where I'm at on the east side of the island, there's just tons of water coming out into the ocean. You go swimming and it's really cold because all this fresh water is coming out. Versus you go to the Kona side, the other side of the island, the west side, and you go swim over there, and it's nice and warm because the fresh water is not coming out. So the ocean varies in salinity, I think, from like 3 to 7% or something. I'm not exactly sure. I probably should have looked up the exact numbers, but the ocean varies in salinity. So you got to realize that as it varies in salinity like this, what you're trying to do is, if you're diluting 1 to 30, you don't have to really like measure the exact salinity and go for it. again, with natural farming, you're trying to bring things into balance, especially the microbes and those things. The 1 to 30 dilution should be fine for them. And what I'd also suggest is dilute a little bit more than less, because the minerals and everything, the whole thing with natural farming is less is more. Elaine Ingham is famous for this quote that she says, don't be a moron, meaning don't put more on. Like almost always that's the thing. And in biological farming, the less on is not to be a moron. So I added the less on part, not that I want to glorify myself or whatever. I just thought that was a funny pun to add, and in Korean natural farming, the less on is not to be a moron. So those things of just, checking it out, being that way, the less ocean water, dilution is more. Don't worry if your salinity changes from place to place. Now, if you were to gather at some place like the Dead Sea, say you're over, in the Middle East and you got it from the Dead Sea, then definitely dilute it more. But all within reason. It's more about bringing your soils into balance than anything else. And so there's another question here from Shaman King. Can we regenerate or make a productive soil that has been covered with ocean water? If yes, how can we do this with KNF solutions? So, I think this is an answer of, say, your land was already too saline, like it was covered by the ocean, you're recovering ocean, sea land. And then also this applies for oversalted land. Like I get this question a lot from folks in Australia, in Israel, places where they're doing agriculture and there's too much salt in the land. One of the main keys is to get IMOs in the soil, right? You put the indigenous microbes, they're going to balance it. Put some biochar in there, they're going to take the salt, they're going to start to separate it, get lactobacillus in there as these pioneers to help out. But the number one thing you can do to remediate oversalted land or land that was under the ocean that is too salty already is get humus and humic acids into your ground. So you can buy humic acids as a soil amendment from the store. They typically made it from leonardite, which is a type of coal. It's a low grade coal, and then they'll grind it up, make it liquid, and you can buy totes of humic acid. And if you start to dilute humic acid 1 to 500, 1 to 1,000 in your compost teas and start spraying this out there, in addition to putting biochar, in addition to putting microbes, you can totally remediate this oversalinated under the soil land and get those things out of there. So I got 2 more questions here on the from the previous questions, and then I'll jump back to the live, and then maybe come back to these other questions if we got more time. So GoPro org, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. You've been a pretty good regular here. I appreciate all your comments. He, she, I'm not sure. It's hard to tell gender on the internet. Has been cruising through and checking out a bunch of videos on my natural farming channel, which is accessible at knfvideo.com. That'll redirect you to my YouTube, and there's a bunch of videos there. I know you've been checking it out because you've been dropping a bunch of comments. Really, I think it's so cool because I put all this stuff up, and then some videos that are like epic Master Chill videos that I have on my feed only have like 500 views. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I put these up, they're going to get like millions of views. The people around the world are just going to check these out. They're just going to be like, whoa, we get to see Master Cho himself. We get to tune in. Oh, look at all this great content on this channel. Millions of views, right? 500. I'm always like, what is going on with the world? Like, people always say like, comment, share, subscribe. Do whatever you like, man. If you do those things and you share this stuff, it'd be cooler because then the ocean, our soils, everything, our forests would come back to life faster. But, hey, I can't help everybody. And, it's like you can't lead a horse, or you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink type of idea and all these things. But appreciate you, GoPro org, for checking those things out. Your knowledge must be just getting way up there of all these things. But to get back to your question, you're saying does OHN have to be extracted 5 times? Or can I just do 2, or am I wasting material? The one thing that's interesting about OHN, so how OHN, I call it KNF medicine, because to me it's a more it's a medicine. OHN may not mean anything to the world. Maybe that's why people don't view the natural farming, or it's also called natural farming, and then people don't realize you can use it for human health, for livestock, for regenerating the earth, for mitigating inflation, climate change, all these problems we have, sovereignty. Is that the medicine, if you extract it, you can extract it up to 5 times, meaning first you take the herbs, you ferment them, then you add in alcohol, then that's stirred around for 2 weeks. You stir it once a week because you're tincturing, just like traditional Chinese medicine. Then after the 2 weeks is done, you go to pour it off. You pour all of the liquor out with the sugar and everything, and your first batch is going to be kind of sugary, which is good. Then from that pour off, you pour back in 1/3. Why do you pour back 1/3? Because it'll make more sense the next time. Then you fill that 2/3 back up with liquor. Then you, again, for 2 weeks, stir every day, keep that thing extracting, tincturing. Then after those 2 weeks have elapsed, now it's 4 weeks into it, you pour it off again into that same container you're keeping your extraction in. And that mixes your first pour off plus your second pour off. Then you pour back in from that container, back in 1/3 into your tincturing jar, and then fill it up again 2/3 with alcohol, and again stir it for 2 weeks. And what's going to happen is that sugar is coming back in, and those initial ferments are coming back in. They kind of seed your tincture, so your tincture doesn't get too diluted. And you add more liquor, and you can do that up to 5 times. So each time refilling 2/3 liquor, then pouring it off into your collection bin, then pouring back in 1/3 from all those batches combined back in, and then 2/3 liquor again, fermented or tincturing for another 2 weeks. And that process, he's asking if you just do it twice instead of doing it 5 times, because you can get 5 pour-offs. You're going to get a slightly different thing than if you did 5, because your sugar levels start to drop each fermentation. However, the sugar in there is important. And just because it's alcohol and we think alcohol sterilizes, there's actually still microbes in there doing processes. And it's not just all chemical. There's actually microbes living in there that are different types of microbes doing different things. And this process starts to micronize. So if you just do it twice, you're going to get a little bit sugary of a solution. And maybe for some reason, the alcohol is, it's the most expensive natural farming solution to make, at least for me. But mixing it back in, doing those things, doing the 5 pour-offs, you get, each time it's more dilute. And when you get all those things, you get, your first pour-off is going to get different things coming out than your 5th pour-off. And so when you do all 5 pour-offs, the alcohol is weaker, the sugar is weaker, and you're getting different extractions coming out. So if you go the whole 5 times, it's actually like sort of superior and a little better, because you're getting all these different fractionated different things coming out. So, and another thing you're asking, are you wasting materials? You can, for me, the herbs are expensive. I buy them from Mountain Rose Herbs in Eugene, Oregon, and it costs me, like $40 to do a Angelica extraction. I think for $40 I can do 2 half-gallon jars, and so by the time I end up doing this stuff, it's pretty pricey to get all these herbs. So I like to get as much extractions out of them as possible. So wasting materials, maybe not. Those materials, after you're done with them, you can make a like herbal tea to drink and those types of things. And also you can mix it into your compost, make all kinds of things. So, the idea of waste in regenerative agriculture is not there. Always there's some way to upcycle it, to put it into something, to do some things. And if there should be 0 waste if you're doing Korean natural farming or regenerative agriculture properly. So anyway, yeah. There's a question here from Gikano, and he's asking, I bought the Mega Profit Farming book, and they specified gelatinase, chitinase microbes for the mix. Do you know where I could acquire them in the US or have a Korean company's name that distributes them? And since you asked that, let me put you in touch with Kil-Young Kim, who is the guy Kil-Young. Let me see here. I'm trying to pull up his email. Let me just see if I search for Kill here. Okay, yeah. So I got his email here for you, and I wanna share this with you because I've also gone to Korea, brought groups there to bring this other technology, which is gelatinase chitinase microbes, and it's a very specific microbe that they're brewing at a high temperature. And it's not necessarily the most compatible with Korean natural farming because the GCM microbes will eat the indigenous microbes, and it's more of like a commercial agriculture. Like, not to say it doesn't work good and it's great, but it's more of like a transition technology because they're using chemical fertilizer. They're introducing the gelatinase chitinase microbes, and then they're spraying that on the plant. And what it does is the GCM really helps to transition through and bring, like if you're already doing chemical fertilizer, you may be able to like see how GCM fits into your regiment, whereas KNF sometimes seems too mystical, too hippie, too out there to be like, oh yeah, this dirt, these microbes, these edible, delicious solutions are somehow going to be enough for my agriculture. Sometimes people think you got to have the chemicals. So GCM is this transition where you're still getting microbes in there, but you're still able to do also the chemicals. So I'm going to give you his email here. If you're interested in this, you want to learn more, he can be reached at kimkill7749 at naver.com. So I'm going to spell that out. It's KIMKIL 7749 at naver.com. So gonna give you, that's Kil-Young Kim, and let him know that Drake sent you and that you're interested in it. And he's a professor. If you search on my channel, you search for GCM, you'll find his contact, his videos. You can watch his full lecture. Really interesting technology. Went to Korea. It was great to connect with him. And yeah, so anyway, gonna jump here to the live. Aloha, what's for breakfast? So far it's coffee, but soon it'll be breadfruit and bananas and all the delicious things that we grow here. Some fresh eggs from my chickens. But I just jump into the office hours with just straight up coffee because, man, sometimes you just got to zing before you sing or whatever you're gonna call it. So good to check in with you guys all over. I'm glad Earthbound Organics says the app is so cool. I'm glad people out there are enjoying it. It's maybe soon I might push an update to it. I wanted to put some cost benefit analysis into it just based on estimates. So it's like, okay, if I want to do, 25 acres or something, what's it going to cost me? Because basically it's, I have all those numbers. It's hard to pull them off the top of my head in these ways, but to put it into an app so you know what you're getting into, especially if you're out like trying to teach and consult and tell people like, okay, I want to transition over. What's it going to cost me to do my land? Those types of things. That's the knowledge you need. And so putting that into the app to make it a little bit easier. I do have it in a spreadsheet right now, but to put those things up. And then I wanted to try out a little interesting thing here. I've been messing around with this OBS, and I just want to see if this here will work. If I do this and I click on it, no. Okay, no, I was trying to get the comments to show up live here and do that, but it's not going to work out for me. So anyway, yes, you guys like the Lesson joke. It's good. And Healing Earth Remediations recommends everyone watch all the videos. Yeah, if it was mandatory, everyone watch this thing, all these videos, I think we would know so much more about the earth and the soil. I myself am lucky to have found Korean natural farming at a young age. I graduated from college with computer science degree, and I started to find out where our food comes from. And I happened to get lucky that I was also I wanted to, change the world in a way. And so I started to run for politics and found out that people don't even know where their food is coming from. Like on our lowest levels, it's like certain folks don't even know where they're going to eat tonight. What food is coming in. There's so much food uncertainty, especially here in Hawaii where I live. You know, and we live here where we could grow all this stuff. So I happened to jump into this early, meet Ginger John, my neighbor, learn about natural farming. My dad took me to Korea to go see these things, and I just knew this was the answer. I brought it home, started to take our farm here and just retrofit it to bring these solutions in. Got pigs, got chickens, have been dedicating my whole life to Korean natural farming. So it's not like I'm like, oh, everyone should watch my videos or do these things, or I have all the answers. I don't, but I never learned about microbes in school. If I go to the university, which I audited for a while, I joined the soil science class. One of the professors at University of Hawaii Hilo was nice enough to let me, audit his class for free. And I learned so much, but you don't learn about these microbes there. But look at your animal feeds coming out. Even the commercial animal feed that I buy, now it has Bacillus subtilis and these different microbes in there. So even at the highest levels, they're starting to bring these microbes in, but there's only like 7 million colony forming units or something. Whereas in a handful of IMO, there's 1 trillion colony forming units. I put that in, put some maintenance spray, add some water, boom, trillions of microbes take off. So I'm not saying like I got all the answers or whatever, but if you do watch these videos, you do get into some of the old, lessons that I did. You watch my certification series, man, it's this knowledge that, I don't know. I just think that if everyone knew about these microbes, we would deal with the planet in a different way. We would really caretake, our soil. If you read my book, it's dedicated to the ocean, all this runoff that's going in. We got to save the ocean. We got to do these things. I'd say oftentimes I joke with my wife that it's too late already, but who knows? I mean, if the right people join in, the right people do things, and without going to these huge agendas of how we, the climate change. I was just reading New York Times, and they're talking about, they're all about climate change and how people are tuned into that. And it's really, you got to bring it into your yard, your hands, your sovereignty, because these are the solutions we need to share. And feeling empowered. If you think climate change is overwhelming, it's not. You just need to, start with your yard, your soil, make the microbes, start spreading it as you drive, bring it around the world. And it's going to take all of us to get into this, not some centralized solution, some machine that's going to save us. It's these simple recipes we can make anywhere. And I say, oh, it's going to save us. Who knows? I really, I often joke it's too late already, but it's fun and glad to connect with you guys. So, here, and GoPro is saying, the videos will give you all the answers. You just have to watch. It's because what I did was I sat there with my iPad and just filmed, so thanks to all the technology, all those things, and to bring you the first person point of view. And then he says he's gonna learn Korean so you can get the direct translation. And I often thought of that. I thought, oh man, I'll learn Korean to learn about this. Man, I just, maybe I'm not as dedicated as I need to be, or if I had a fluent speaker nearby that I could converse with. But I tried to learn through the Duolingo, and I can read the Hangul now. Like I can read Korean, but I have no idea what it says, and to understand it. And thank God to Dr. Park. So if you don't know, Dr. Park, Dr. Hoon Park, he brought Korean natural farming here. He's been the translator. He goes on all these trips. He's like 86 now. I don't know. He's quite elderly, and he has so much youth and energy that natural farming fires him up, and he has such the spirit of God in him that he goes on these trips and he translates for us, and it's just amazing. So I hats off to him, hats on to him, whatever, that he's been able to translate for us. So let's see here. You have taught me the most, man. It's, I'm just a translator of taking ideas, like, it gets translated to me, but it doesn't get translated conceptually. So if anything I've contributed to natural farming, it's just because I've taught elementary school kids and I had to relate this to them. And so, small potatoes in terms of the, like they say, Newton standing on the shoulder of giants. I really feel like that in natural farming. I don't want to claim that I'm the father of anything or invented anything, or some other folks out there want to pretend like they've invented this, but it's not. It's ancient traditions from years and years, and any innovation we've made is just small compared to what's out there. So Eyewitness is asking, how would you treat wetlands? I live in Florida and run into it a lot. Side note, I would love all the content and have it to make a priority to go through the courses content and really appreciate it, man. So how do I treat the wetlands? So I don't have similar wetlands here, but what we do in Hawaii is we have like lo'i systems, which is wetland kalo. So there's two ways to grow taro. One is dry land, where you just plant it right into the ground, make mounds, plant in the ground. The other is wetland cultivation, and it's similar to like growing rice in the water. And so what happens is typically the water comes out of a stream, goes into your like wet patch, and then goes and returns back into the stream. And so what happens is the cold water that's full of minerals that's been flowing down the river, that's high oxygen content, comes into these shallow ponds. It then warms up. When it warms up, it drops the minerals out of the solution, and then feeds the taro, and also helps to keep certain weeds back. But it's that oxygenated water that goes in that feeds the microbiome that then transitions back into the river. So you're not losing this water. So what we do in that solution, or that situation, is take natural farming solutions and put them in the place where the water is coming out of the stream. So take a burlap sack, fill it with the IMO, and put that in your entryway. So where the water's coming out and where it's oxygenated, and then the microbes get in there. And then as it warms up as the water spreads out and warms up, that then is putting those microbes all over. You can also, just treat these things as if, in Master Cho's book, he talks about rice cultivation, which is, similar to wetlands, and just spreading these solutions, like before you fill it with water, put the IMO in, but even as you're going, just dumping this into the water. And you don't have to calculate out to say, oh, there's like 10,000 gallons of water in my wetlands scenario, so I got to dilute this for 10,000 gallons. A little bit will go a long way. And really what you're trying to do is you're trying to teach those microbes in there. You're trying to give them enough little bits of food so that they can get stimulated to go into these systems and bioremediate. So treating wetlands, almost treat it just as if it's dryland crop. And the main thing with all natural farming that I've found the most is it's about frequency. So meaning that if I just go out and, start with the IMOs, get great soil foundation, but if I really want things to improve quickly, it's about going out on almost like a weekly basis to go out, or it depends on your economy, what you're growing, how you do it, but making it easy so that you can just a light mist of these foods. Think of yourself, like you don't want to just eat one huge meal and then not eat for 2 weeks. You want to be able to eat like on the daily basis. And same like the plants. They want to be able to have a little bit of food on a consistent basis, and that's going to bring you the best results for remediating in any kind of land and treating these areas and getting things. Jotkabi is saying your videos are the truth and so many are sleeping on you. You know, we've all come from different places. I used to drink like 5-6 sodas a day, and it's probably, you know, I'm sure my health suffered from that, but I'm glad to find these solutions now. You know, people sleeping, it's their own truth, it's their own time. It's, you know, I can only do what I can do, and put these out here. So GoPro is saying he's going to go for the 5 extractions. I think it's a good idea with the KNF medicine if you do that. And he says he's $240 into vodka and he only did 2 extractions. The other thing I want to mention about KNF medicine and the investment you're making, where you're saying you're $240 in, is that if you make it now and you make a big batch and you seal it with an airtight lid, so don't let your alcohol evaporate. That's one mistake that some people make. I'll taste their KNF medicine and the alcohol is gone, and that can be a bummer because you spent all this time. And the alcohol is an important part because when it goes to absorb, here's your cell, and then the medicine comes and the alcohol is able to like battery ram it, like Trojan horse it into the cell. So if your alcohol evaporates, you'll have these particles that are in the solution, but they won't enter the cell. So make sure you get airtight lid, especially if the vodka's expensive. But the point I want to get to is if you make the OHN, the KNF medicine today, and you store it, it's just like a fine whiskey. The longer you keep this this KNF medicine around, stored well, the more potent it's going to get. The more micronized these particles get, the smoother it gets, the easier it is for this to absorb. So in the future, you actually have to use less. And Master Cho says for every year, take the recommended amount and cut it in half. So if the first year the recommended amount is 1 to 1,000, next year dilute it 1 to 2,000. And I'm not sure if the next year you dilute it 1 to 4,000 or 1 to 3,000, but I think you just reduce it each year, the amount you need, and you'll see the results, and you can taste the smoothness, especially for human health. And I find that having a decent amount of KNF medicine on hand, it helps me anytime I feel sick, anytime I, you know, see anything down, you know, feeding it to livestock to bring them back to life, all these things. I recommend making it now, and, you know, biting the bullet, so to say, like taking the pain now to make sure it happens in the future. Because you know, you'll have less over the long run, and plus, I mentioned inflation. Things are only going to get more expensive as we devalue our currencies globally, and that's something also why I promote natural farming. You know, banking, all this stuff is, you know, you really get into it, it's wild. So, you know, like they say, make it now. It's easy to get alcohol. In the future, you may have to have your own still and all these things as global supply lines shutter. And who knows, I don't want to go too far down that conspiracy route, or not conspiracy, but future projection route. But that's why I recommend you learn KNF now, get good at it, because it future proofs you. You know, the world gets better, you win. The world gets worse, you win. So always be there. So, yeah, great tip. Mountain Rose herbs, much better than the Amazon, I bet. This is from Earthbound Organics. And yeah, support them. If you buy in bulk, you get discounts. You know, I wish maybe I'd get a sponsorship from those guys, because I know people who have worked at that company in Eugene, and they highly recommend it. You know, they go around the world, visit the sources where they're getting these herbs, and they're always bringing in the highest quality stuff. Amazon, I'm sure Jeff Bezos does not go to the place he's sourcing these things. They're just reselling whatever. And, you know, love all that stuff. But I just think supporting a small business like Mountain Rose Herbs, you know, that's a great company, know the people, you know, so reaching out there. So this question from Eyewitness, do I have an email I could reach you on? I have some questions on getting certified. My email is Drake, Drake, at pureknf.org. That's pureknf.org. And you can reach me, there. That's my foundation email. It's the one I take, KNF questions on. But it's also worth right now just sharing a little bit, actually, I got a question here from somebody in Africa here. He says, this was Zuleika. And he's saying, hi, these videos are incredibly helpful, but it's difficult for him to join on the live stream because it's 3 a.m. where he lives, which it's always the problem with going live on global is that, for me, it's, 9 in the morning. For him, it's 3 a.m. He was wondering if he could submit some questions and check the answers when the videos are uploaded. If so, where can I submit them? So again, my email, Drake at pureknf.org. But you can also here go and submit questions here. So I'm going to transition this over. And this is KNF Support. So it's knfsupport.com. And this is a project sponsored by the Pure KNF Foundation, which is the nonprofit that I'm a part of. And you can reach here and put questions and answers. So even when I'm not live, it also has a link to the book here. So if you want to get the book, that'll take you to my Natural Farming Hawaii website, which has answers too. One of my problems is as a computer scientist, I spread myself out over the web, making these specific websites to solve specific problems instead of aggregating them all into one and being like, I don't know. I felt like having specific places to go to solve specific problems was a better way. So if you have questions, you can log in here. Right here, you can ask a question. It's best if you search first, so if I search for OHN to see what questions are out there, there's already been a bunch answered, people asking all kinds of things. You can tell that they're answered here, but this is a great source as well. I try to get these answers out. And then also if you click on these answers and there's more than one answer, which like for instance, this one here, halal, someone's asking about the religious exemptions for using stuff for OHN. And if there's more than one answer, what you can do here is you can actually upvote the answers by clicking up, and then these answers will pop to the top. So the idea is with this website that the best answers rise up. It's similar to Stack Overflow if you've used that. I'd use it all the time for programming questions. But this is a little community, and then it also has a reputation. So if you click on my profile here, you'll see I've answered, 93 questions. I got 770 reputation points, and I can view my profile here and see, these different things that I've answered and my experience points, and I get experience. Oh, it looks like I voted something down here and all these things. So. So kind of a system that we run through our foundation as a way to support the KNF community globally. And KNF Support is a great website. So if you want to answer questions off hours, I don't really go here and pick these up to do them live, but I've been trying to just answer questions just in the live chat here and whatever else is coming up that way to get these questions. I think one of my problems why, I've been spread out and not as, but giving people a lot of ways to do this. Our foundation has been in operating for like the last 2 years. Prior to that, I operated with another organization where I got all this organization done, but that organization kind of went to the wayside through if you've ever seen Korean Korean dramas, that there's a lot of drama in, Koreans love that stuff. So anyway, I tried to create our organization that I'm working with now, the Pure KNF organization, no drama, just answers, just things, sponsoring things like this. So if you like, a shout out to the Pure KNF Foundation. They are helping financially sponsor this, but it's also sponsored from viewers like you. I figure I may as well pitch it, right? You can go and kick down in the super chat that or help make a donation to the foundation, or there's a bunch of ways to support. You know, even buying the book helps, which is at knfsupport.org, but try not to hammer that too much. And also buying the app helps support me. So, you know, it's packed with knowledge, all those things. And shout out to GoPro, KNF, kicking down $2 in the super chat. Yes. Sometimes I look at my YouTube and I see like how little bit of money comes in from it. And I try not to get, disappointed from that, because if I based the effort that I put out on the income that comes in, it is definitely for the love, but my payments are you guys practicing where you're at and those things. I mean, not to say that your like direct contributions help, but try not to go too much on that. So, here, let's see, I'll jump back up here a little bit. I got lucky when I didn't know how to grow anything. I found your YouTube. So Jamie, stoked. I think KNF is a great place to start if you don't know anything. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to unlearn quote unquote bad habits. You know, we get so stuck in our ways as farmers. We think we have the solutions. Even myself, I'm always open to it. I'm always open to learning. I never think I know it all, because that humility is what brings it in. But if you find this first, you know the microbial tiny foundation, and you're always going to go from, you know, the elements through the microbes into the plants. Like, just like I eat food, I don't absorb that food directly. My microbes break it down, make it absorbable, and then it comes into my body. You always got this microbial interface. And Korean natural farming just brings that focus to the microbial interface, makes that better, and then we absorb these things. So I always recommend it's a great place to start. So here's a question here. I have your app and I heard it was based on foliar feeding. Last week you mentioned use 4 times the amount for a drench. Is this specifically for the app? So let me, it's getting a little hot in here. Let me clarify that. Healing Earth Remediations is asking, so the dilutions are always the same. Okay, so if I'm doing a foliar application or I'm doing a drench application, like for instance, the KNF food is always diluted 1 to 500. What I'm talking about in terms of 4 times more is that if I'm going to spray foliarly, the recommended application rate is 25 gallons per acre. If I'm going to drench, I would put out 100 gallons per acre. So that means my dilutions did not change. Like I'm still diluting 1 to 500. I'm just putting out 4 times more of the diluted solution. Okay, so don't mess with the concentrations. Don't make the concentrations like 4 times more, because that is a surefire way to create problems. If you're putting that much KNF food into a solution and spraying or drenching it, it's going to cause bugs, it's going to cause insect problems, it'll cause overgrowth, it'll cause all these problems as it gets out of whack. So always follow the dilutions that are in the app or in the book. You know, I suppose if I talking about all this stuff should promote my book too. It's there. You know, one of the nice things about the book, there's this handy dandy chart in the back, and it always talks, you know, this is for making 1 gallon here, and it's always like, you know, 8 milliliters, 4 milliliters. I'm trying to hold it in front, but it's backwards for me. You know, in this chart here to get you going. It's just a loose estimate though. Once you become an expert natural farmer, you will actually fine tune this better. This is just to help you understand what you're diluting, when, where, why. And this, you know, so this is in my book here on KNF Support. There's a link to it. But don't change those dilutions. Don't be like, oh, 4 times more, I'm going to add 16 milliliters. Don't keep those the same. Just apply more of the solution. Where I was saying earlier, don't be a moron, but If you're drenching, you gotta add more just because the absorption is not the same. If it's coming through the roots, you have to have more of it to get it up. If you feed underneath the leaves, on the bottom side of your leaves, that absorption's almost immediate, and you see these results of the same way. And so there's a so if that makes sense to you. And so GoPro's asking, what is the ratio of IMO4 to chicken feed, and do you just ferment? Oh shoot, this thing just skipped up. Oh, and do you just ferment it in bag or on the ground? Okay, so the question is IMO4 to chicken feed, and do you ferment it in a bag or on the ground? Okay, so I should probably make another chicken feed quick video of how I do it, because I ferment my chicken feed every day. 24-hour ferment. And what is the ratio? I'm approximately, oh hey, thanks for the super chat here. Thanks for the $5, man. Appreciate it. I add a handful. So it's like a whopping handful into my chicken feed. And I'm doing half a 5-gallon bucket of feed for my birds. I got about 40 birds. I also feed them papayas and greens that are not part of that. But Master Cho's recommended rate is actually 10% of your feed can be IMO4. So you can put a bunch in there. The dirt that's in there, the minerals, the microbes, the enzymes, the living probiotics, all these things that they eat are beneficial. So if you are able to, so what is the recommended ratio? I put in just a handful because I'm interested in activating it. But you could go up to 10% of your animal feed could be IMO4. Do I do it in a bag? No, I do it in a bucket. And when Master Cho visited here, you can see one of those videos where it's like KNF tour in Hawaii with Master Cho. He saw me fermenting this in this plastic bucket, and he punched me straight in the chest so dang hard. He's like, don't ferment in plastic. And I was like, oh. And in Hawaii, it's so hard to get clay jars. It's so hard to get big vessels to do this. So plastic is all I have, and you got to adapt to what you have. But I got punched straight in the chest for fermenting in plastic. So that's what I do. This is what I do. I don't know. Maybe on the ground would be better for me. One of the problems if I do it on the ground is mice come in, other birds, other things. I don't have a sealed off area to do this. So the bucket is where it's at. But, I got hit for doing it. So just to let you know, it's not the right way to do it. It's just what's practical for me. Healing Earth Remediations is saying, I want to be part of a natural farming cooperative. That's something we're working with the foundation to connect people. I have a whole bunch of people that have come here to the farm to do training. I've taught them to be teachers even. That's one of the great things you get when you train with me is a teacher training, so that when you go back, you know how to teach, you know how to bring these things. And so I'm working on coordinating all that. It's always a challenge between my farm, supporting this community, building the teachers, doing everything. Sometimes I feel like I gotta be a Superman or find more time in my day or something, but making something where it's like you could be part of this, so you feel that you're connected, and that like I said, the I Ching, the two lakes joining together to make this happen. It's really, wish I had more time to coordinate and facilitate that way. So I appreciate you wanting to be part of it, and maybe if you have ideas on how to help, get in touch. I did share my email earlier. Again, it's drake@pureknf.org, our foundation. And maybe you can help out with organizing, getting those things together. So take a question here from Dami 2001. Should the maintenance solution once a week also in winter time when the trees are dormant or nearly dormant? Thank you so much. I say once a week because we don't have winter here in Hawaii the same way you guys do, and the trees don't go dormant. So for me, I say once a week. If it's sleeping, the ground's sleeping. What's really important in wintertime is that if you treat before, like during fall when the leaves are falling, and you're able to spray then and put out IMOs then all winter those microbes are going to keep going. Do you have to spray during winter when trees are dormant? No, not necessarily. I mean, if you did that and you had the time and energy and you got a small area to do that, I'm sure you would see benefit. But however, take the winter off, come to Hawaii, come to the class, relax, go learn, read, do these things. It's what I'm talking about is like in a market garden where you're growing things fast. That's when you need weekly application. In an orchard, if you can spray, you know, it depends on your size, but if you can spray monthly or even twice a year, you're going to see benefit. And so it's all depends on your scale, your size. I recommend it's just the idea, the concept here is frequency. So if you're just going to do it once and think it's going to work, the more frequent you can be out there, the more you can pulse it, the more you can bring it up. Life is all, you know, like Tesla, you get into that. He says, if you understand frequency, you'll understand the keys to the universe. And it's really, you know, it's not just like 60 hertz of electricity coming to us. It's actually like understanding, like the more frequently I'm out there, the more, you know, people will say the best fertilizer is a farmer's sweat, which not just because of the mineral content and the microbes that come out of my body, but actually it's the frequency that you're out there that does the best for it. And so, so Stone Mason is asking, should you spread IMO4 in colder weather, highs in the 40s, lows 28? Your microbes, like I just said, try to spread it before fall, but your microbes are going to be best applied right in spring when things are just, you know, the thaw is happening. There's that extra moisture entering the ground. That's going to be your most crucial time to spread IMO4 and build your soil foundation is right during spring. And, you know, 2 weeks before you'd plant, go out there, you know, a month before you'd plant and spread your soil foundation. Start spraying weekly the soil solution on that land and you're going to kick butt. That's when you're in harmony with nature. You know, you're getting all the cycles to happen at the right times and the right things to happen. So should you be going out in the middle of winter and spreading IMO? Probably not. You know, it's not, you know, do it when you're in harmony with nature, when you get this synergy to work with you is the best time. So, yeah, so Earthbound's going to tell Mountain Rose that I sent them. Yeah, maybe they'll hook me up with something. I'm stoked you guys are tuning in from a global thing. So GoPro is asking here, did you use Makgeolli in place of vodka? I'm super interested. So Makgeolli is not used in place of vodka. So Makgeolli is more like a beer versus vodka is more like soju. So if you're using the Korean vocabulary, you want to instead use something that's going to have more than 35% alcohol. So, so he's saying here, you know, Makgeolli in place of beer. Yeah, Healing Earth Remediations is on that page. So there's two different types of alcohol. The first is to remoisten herbs. So adding the beer to have a already fermented type of thing to absorb in. And the second is the alcohol, which is more like the soju or vodka, which is to have 35 or higher, you know, vodka's 40% to pull those nutrients out. So there's two different processes going. One is rehydrating, the other is tincturing. So you can't use those in place of each other. You know, they're two separate things. So yeah, and so in the comments, you guys are already on this. You know, that's exactly what you guys were saying. So I got to stay live on these comments here, but it's going through. So yeah, so I'm glad I could clear up some confusion for you guys here. Healing Earth Remediations, thanks for the donation. Really appreciate it. You know, I put that money towards keeping myself running, keeping my truck going. I got to actually replace the brakes coming up, so all that kind of stuff. So Ciziri Masala is asking, how can you add IMO4 to my pig food? Same way, and I gotta get these feed videos out there, but basically I do have an older feed video. It's actually one of my more popular videos on my YouTube. But you do the pig food, you can blend 10% of it to be IMO4. In America, they will not let you use IMO4 because of the soil, and there's certain regulations. So you got to check with that. But your the IMO4 can be up to 10% of the food, and if you can't use the soil, then just use straight IMO3. Get those microbes in there and get all those things in there. So yeah, so I'll do a video more on the feeds and maybe get more like put an infographic and get more into the feeds. And then it's almost 10 o'clock here, but I did have one more thing that I want to share with you guys before I take off for today. And that is this paper right here. So let me see, I'm gonna full screen it on this side and transition over. And the University of Hawaii just released another paper, which I may have mentioned it before, but I wanted to put this up here. And this is comparing natural farming and University of Tropical Ag at Manoa, so University of Hawaii. And it was done by Kunhui Wang, which also is featured in Search of Balance, the movie on Korean natural farming. And she's comparing organic and conventional farming methods. And so I just wanted to skip, or can I, you can see the paper here. It's going through the materials, the methods, the experiments she did. And, she's looking at counting the bacterias and the microbes in here and seeing, plating method, which is not a good way to measure microbes again. But the crazy thing is that even with these ways that are not good for evaluating, you can see here, KNF is coming in, I think it's this one here. Yeah, it's coming in at these amazing rates of, I'm colorblind, so it's a little hard for me to see this, but it's just off the charts, in terms of Bacillus subtilis and all these other microbes. And then the microbes you don't want are coming in higher on other systems. So looking at this is a scientific analysis of this. And then this paper is available on pureknf.org, the foundation. You click on research, you can download this paper, see for yourself. But in her conclusion, I'm just going to read this. In conclusion, this study has established that KNF increases bacterial populations in the soil where the concentration of bacteria was highest within the rhizosphere. In contrast, the bacterial population was lowest in soil treated using conventional farming methods. As previously mentioned, KNF involves the culturing of naturally occurring indigenous microorganisms, known as IMO, such as fungi, bacteria, and protozoa. This study focused on identifying phosphorus solubilizing and nitrogen fixing bacteria. In order to see the whole picture, an analysis of microbial diversity should be performed on soil samples. This can be accomplished via next-generation DNA sequencing techniques. It would also be informative to conduct a KNF field study to record plant yield and collected samples for microbial testing. So, like any good study, its main thing it reported is that they need more study, more funding, more documentation, more things to go out. But with this small study, it really showed how the KNF methods bring a whole bunch more microbes into the systems. And that's what we're after. Any system you're operating with, bringing those microbial systems into here is the way to do it. So since you're here and it's worthwhile for me, I got one more thing. If you've made it this far, and I just want to pitch to you guys that if you're this interested in natural farming and you've made it this far through, coming out to the KNF Farm, this is knffarm.com, and checking out the trainings. I got 2 coming up. I got one in January 10th to the 16th, and then I also have one from February 14th to the 20th. Right now, there are, I think there's one spot still open for a cabin in the KNF January training, and then there's 3 spots still open for the February training. So if you're thinking of coming out, you want to be one of these happy people that gets certified, that learns, that has this integrated in, that gets teacher training, hands-on solutions, knows how to apply these things, gets practical things on the ground. Get in on the training. It's happening. You know, you can learn more. Reach out to me if you have any questions on it. Want to make sure you feel great about this, but also want to make sure that you can share this around the world and bring it to the people who need it. So appreciate you guys tuning in. And one last thing, I guess, you know, I always say it's the last thing, and then there's a bit more. I want to also just thank the Pure KNF Foundation, which is at pureknf.org. These guys here for helping sponsor this, making it happen. Looks like I need to update this website a little bit, but you know, couldn't do this without you guys, without the foundation, without everything coming together, joining like 2 lakes and supporting each other so that we have a great Korean natural farming, you know, community. So thank you guys. Love you. Long live the natural farmer. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week, next Sunday. Appreciate it. Aloha.